All right, let's get into it. Letters drip from the page as they run and turn into a smoky, inky substance collecting on the ground at Pickle's feet. Athalia and Mycelia are shocked, and Pickles is stunned. The book has never done this before. And they begin to question, rapid fire, asking, what does this mean? What is this? What should they do? But the only reply they get is, go in. So they dive headlong in through the ink pool. They come through on the other side as ink drips into the air up past their heads. There's no color, only shades of gray on the beach that surrounds them. The trees are still there, and as they take in their surroundings, Athalia notices that although three jumped through, there is a fourth, a short, cloaked figure standing among them. They question him, but he barely replies. Instead, lifting his hand and pointing a finger, a small, thin line of black, inky smoke trails off towards the foliage, towards the ziggurat. Washed away, battered against the waves, Jeff struggles, getting dashed upon the rocks until the current subsides a bit, and then he is washed ashore. He can feel the ground underneath his feet, and he pulls himself out of the water. He's on a finished embankment, not natural earth. No. Stone. A brown marbled brick. He creates a soft light and begins to inspect his surroundings. It's not too long before he finds a vast wall. His light cannot reach to the top. And across it is engraved murals of men carrying platters. And as he follows the mural, it leads to a massive frog. And then he finds a door. Following this thin trail of wispy ink through the woods, they look about, and Athalia, Pickles, and Mycelia, they realize that these are the trees that they had once wandered through. But they are different, much younger indeed. In the distance, they hear a faint barking, a soft growling sound. Breaking from the foliage, they begin walking through the city. But something's different. The ground It's flat. Jeff stumbles through the door, his light ahead of him, hoping to catch a glimpse of anything. He hears a wet slap, like something large and wet is moving in this vast chamber. The ground slopes downward, and he casts light upon a stone and throws it to the distance. It hits a wall with a wet thud. But that is no wall. It is wet green flesh. And he realizes he is in danger. Mycelia, Thalia, and Pickles press through the city streets, the ground undisturbed. They come across two young men, children. "Come quick! You're going to miss it. It's already started." They banter to one another, rushing down the streets towards the ziggurat. Unseen and unheard by these two children, the three press on as the barks and growls grow ever closer. The flesh writhes, and Jeff stumbles, making his way quickly down the wall, seeking some place to hide. There's a dragging sound. The wet flesh, it's moving away from him. And soon, his dim light reveals it no more. There's a loud boom and a shake. The crowd gathers and presses about the ziggurat. Thousands of people chanting, "Usirikaya, Usirikaya." They bellow at the top of their lungs. They don't notice the three individuals of no tone in color weaving through them. The ziggurat is ahead, and atop it they see a lone figure, a woman. Her arms are stretched out, and her hair cascades down her back. Curious, they contemplate climbing the ziggurat to learn more about this individual, this fair young woman. But the growls and the barks are closer now, and they worry that they do not have much time. The thin black line presses into the ziggurat. And so reluctantly, the three of them walk through the doors and down a familiar hall. It is a well-appointed area with tapestries and cushions. And as they pass through a particular hallway, there are large silver trays stacked atop the other. Jeff stumbles backwards, falling through an open door. He pulls himself up quickly and turns about. It is a small room. An ancient bed sits to one side. Opposite, a fireplace that has long since been lit. In the center, opposite the door, is a mantel. A desk of sorts, and atop it sits a book. He moves across the room and gingerly picks up the book. The three shadow figures rush down the hall, barks echoing, growls increasing. Through this massive chamber they rush, following this inky trail, this thin line. They turn sharp, making as much haste. And they break through a door. There is a man standing in front of a mantel. He is writing frantically in a book. A servant on one side of the room stokes a fireplace, cooking something in a large pot. On the other side of the room, opposite the fireplace, is a luxurious bed. They approach the man, but he cannot seem to see them. They look, but they cannot discern what he is writing. And as they peer over his shoulder, he stands with a start, and there is a loud scream, the cry of a woman. Another bark, another growl. This one so much closer than before. They see it now. The ink trail ends in a pool, and they leap through. Jeff is astonished as Mycelia, Athalia, and Pickles all appear in the room with him. He's holding this tome. The three stand up. "What's in the book?" they inquire. And he opens it to find nothing but bleached white paper. He closes it and inspects it again for a minute. On the front of it reads, "The Tome of the Frog King." Then they hear a soft sound. Mycelia notices a pair of soft eyes gazing out from underneath the bed. They stare fixed at Pickles. Moving to the bed, they begin to inspect and investigate whatever these strange illuminations could be. But the bed, so ancient, crumbles to dust when they touch it. Questions unanswered. They begin to piece what they saw together until again Mycelia hears a soft sound and turns, and behold, there are eyes, soft ethereal eyes, in the fireplace. Curiously, they investigate and they question, going so far as to reach her own hand in, but there is nothing there. No items they prod with evoke any reaction until Pickles pokes a stick in. The eyes react violently, lighting and pulling the stick furiously out of his grasp. Unsure of what to do, having had much discussion and having questioned their own book much, they decide it is time to rest and then escape. During the night, the lingering curse bears its effect. And some of them hear the frog folk outside croaking softly. Os, re, kai, ya. Us, re, kai, ya. Morning approaches, but there is no rest to be had. Sunlight beams through the building. A massive door on the opposite side of the large chamber, a 30 by 30, crumbled, having been broken by something from inside the ziggurat long ago. They make their way back to the pool from which Jeff pulled himself. And they do find an escape. But the deep water and the narrow passage pose too much of a risk. And so they return to the massive chamber and climb out the door to the top of the ziggurat. As they ascend the steps, The crimson hue grows deeper. The cut brown marbled stone is dark crimson. From the peak of the ziggurat, they can now see at eye level the ground at which all the frog folk congregate, standing in a devout stupor, softly, ever croaking, Us, Re, Kai, Ya, Us, Re, Kai, Ya. Unsure, but daring, they descend the ziggurat and push forwards to the crowd, the throng of frog folk, 1,000 strong. But they break through. The bullywugs are in a stupor as they chant, their arms outstretched, chanting much like Mycelia, Athalia, and Pickles had heard as they walked through that inky land. They climb back through the town, through the foliage, to the rope. Mycelia flies out. She pulls the rope off the cliff. The other three pull the rope in from the water, still blood red. With a newfound determination, Mycelia ties the rope in an impossible knot, and they ascend it up the cliff. They have escaped the ziggurat. But the tome remains a mystery. And taking some time, Jeff attempts to identify the book. And he learns that this is indeed the Tome of the Frog King. The book bears a special property. It removes and greatly hampers your intelligence, a strong and powerful curse that can be passed down through the bloodline. Still weary, they begin the slow westward trek back through the swamp.